So, a new quarter, a new release of Module Suite. This time we're releasing 3.3, and as you recall from 2 or 3 releases ago, we started naming our releases based on gorgeous, and to be frank, gorgeous locations around the Thyssen area where we're located. So today is really just give you an update on what's new in this 3.3. I'll give you a heads up of what will be coming on 3.4, as we usually do. At any moment, if there's any questions, drop them in to the Q&A panel, and we'll get those at the end. Patrick, could you go to the next slide, please? All right, so very briefly, I do want to provide some updates from some company updates, and also for those of you that maybe have joined us for the first time or talking to us for the first time, a very one slide quick recap of what our solution is. So we're very proud of 2 events that we did this past 2 months. So we did our Answer Modules user group after a couple of years of hiatus, obviously because of the pandemic situations, but we're very glad that it was a very well received event, a great turnout. So thank you everyone who made it possible, and we're looking forward to obviously replicating it again next year. And the idea will still be having the community come together, obviously hear some updates from our side, but more importantly, hear what other customers are doing with the module suite, what projects they're leveraging in, etc. So have an exchange of ideas. And then what seemed like a lifetime ago, but it's only 3 weeks, I believe, we were in Las Vegas for OpenText World. We were an expert sponsor, so we're there in presence, and also had some virtual content as well. And obviously next year we'll be there again. Patrick, next slide, please. And another thing I want to provide an update on, it's a new portal that we have published and that we are developing, consolidating, evolving, etc. And it is called Answer Modules Academy. So here, for first and foremost, at the moment, we have our first self-service training courses. So the first one that we published was specifically for Content Script. We're working to add additional ones, such as for beautiful web forms, smart pages, etc. But then, in general, the idea of the Academy will be essentially the main portal in which to find training, resource, the training content, the technical content, etc. So a general hub. And so I think over the next few months, you'll see this constantly growing and constantly evolving. Pass the next slide, please. And this is my last one, just the quick intro, maybe for, again, those of you that haven't seen or are first approaching our technology called Module Suite. So to put it very briefly, it is obviously an add-on module exclusively for Content Suite and XMDCM. And what it delivers, the value it delivers, is really the capacity, the ability to accelerate digital transformation on these platforms, as well as accelerate digital transformation on these platforms. So what this means at the end of the day is being able to implement tailored, personalized business solutions, business applications, while leveraging your ECM platform, or also making it also easier to personalize the platform so that it meets probably your organization's very specific needs and requirements. So that's the 2-second high-level intro. Obviously, today what we will be showing is all the evolutions of the module suite with this latest release. With that, Patrick, I think I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Paolo. So in the next slides, we are going to present to you what is actually new in the new release 3.3 Montebello. And we are going to also briefly discuss what you can expect by the next release, which will be probably deliver by the end of the year, and that will be 3.4 Rancate. So the first new functionality that we have introduced with Model Suite 3.3, it is a solution that allows it to extend the capabilities of content server, of extended CM better yet, and allows you to quickly prototype an integration, so an extended ECM integration with another systems. So as you might know, we have recently introduced at the beginning of the year the new capability named Extended ECM for Everything as part of the model suite. So Extended ECM for Everything is a functionality that allows you to implement Extended ECM connectors directly within model suite. Just writing a couple of scripts, and you are able to basically connect and implement an extended ECM connector towards another system. So this is meant for homegrown solution and any solution for which an official extended ECM implementation is not yet available or won't be available in the future. That was just half of the story, obviously. So we always said that the extended ECM integration in terms of the user interface, the UI, is still implemented utilizing the standard business workspaces widget, which needs to be embedded in the leading application UI. We wanted to enable scenarios in which you have no possibility of modifying the leading application user interface, and this is the main purpose for this browser plugin, to quickly prototype this integration without having to go through the full development in order to gather feedback from your end users. So what the browser plugin does is basically implement a lightweight integration with the extended ECM. So it is a browser plugin designed for the Chromium engine. So it works for Google Chrome as well as Microsoft Edge, because as you might know, so they are now sharing the same engine. So it's a single plugin, works for these two family of browsers. And what this plugin allows it to do is to basically define a set of rules to detect from the leading application web page what it is irrelevant information related to a business object on the application itself, and to leverage a extended ECM connector that you have developed with Model Suite to fetch this information. For the one of you that were at the Answer Models user group in Paris a couple of months ago, you have probably and attended the training session. You have seen this in action, and I was basically able to implement a prototype of a connector for a cloud solution named ClickUp in a matter of a couple of hours. So, and was a matter of consuming the ClickUp's APIs, as well as injecting and displaying the extended ECM business workspace widget in the context of the leading application. As I mentioned, so this new functionality is something that is assembled through Model Suite. So you will find on Model Suite a new tool in the application builder, something that we are going to discuss in a moment, that will assemble for you this plugin. And we have the idea of implementing the base functionality for supporting the injection of the widget inside the most common applications. So we already tested with a couple of, let me say, industry standard application. It's working well. The purpose of it, as I mentioned, is quickly prototyping the solution in order to collect feedback from your users and move forward faster in your project. So if you have any homegrown solution, you can literally implement sort of an extended ECM connection, and that it works end to end in one day, and then starting collecting and working with your end users in order to define and refine how the connection should actually work and how the interaction will be. As I mentioned, the plugin will work for basically these families of browsers, which are right now the most used ones. The plugin requires you to specify a couple of things. We have in roadmap to evolve it a bit. So at the moment, the plugin requires you to specify the extended DCM instance you want to connect to and provide your own credentials. So the two things that we are going to implement and to handle this plugin in the near future will be the single sign-on functionality, together with the possibility of displaying the widget not inside the leading application page, but in plugin interface itself. So this dialog that you see on the top right of the page is the dialog through which you now specify the configuration for the plugin. In the near future, as I mentioned, we will probably work on the same dialog in order to display the widget for business, the business workspace widget itself. And this widget will be contextual to the leading application page that you are looking at. In the screenshot on the bottom left, you can see the plugin in action on a web application for which we have developed an integration for. So this web application, it's a native cloud application, doesn't allow you to modify their interface at all. So there is no SDK, there's nothing you can utilize to modify their user interface, but through the usage of the plugin, we were actually able to inject a new tab in their interface as well as the widget, and information related to the business object that was relevant, business object ID relevant for the business application was detected in this case from the URL, can be on the page, can be directly in the HTML of the page. And we have just to identify it in order to pass it to the configuration of the standard business workspace widget from extended SAM, and then our connector will be in charge of getting all the information related to the proper business workspace and the metadata from the application if a new one needs to be created. So as again, for the time being, our suggestion is not really to utilize it on production. We think that is a great fit, as I mentioned, for prototyping, is a great fit from easily collect information and feedback from your users. Technically speaking, as a plugin, you can distribute it with your policies, depending on how your policies work, but it is actually something that you might want to consider to utilize in production in the future. For the time being, we suggest not to, because it's brand new development and we are still testing different configurations. So for the time being, again, is definitely something that you might want to utilize on non-productive systems. The second new big addition to the functionalities and features of Model Suite 3.3 is an extension to the library of widgets that you can utilize for creating beautiful web forms and smart pages. So we have basically decided to embed in the product a set of enterprise widgets that are developed by Syncfusion, which is a company dedicated in creating this library of widgets. And the main reason is we wanted to have a more richer set of widgets to be utilized to compose your pages, widgets with a lot of business logics. And so we have selected this library and we are starting introducing these new widgets in the libraries starting from this version and for the future as well. These widgets, they will work for library version 4, both for beautiful web forms and smart pages, but we will also work for library version 5. So we are going to deploy more and more widgets over time in the next releases, starting again from 3.3. We have already started utilizing some of these widgets in our own applications, in our own solutions. So here you can see a document editor widget and a couple of other widgets utilized in the context of our contract lifecycle management solution. So this widget specifically allows you to manipulate Word documents directly from the web interface, and combined with the APIs that we have available for manipulating Word documents, such as merging them, combining them, etc. It makes quite a powerful solution. Other widgets that we have already introduced are the this panel on the right and on the left, and elements that allows you to define a very, let me say, convenient layout to organize your applications and element of the interface that you want to associate to interaction from the users. Other widget will be, as I mentioned, introduced between releases and with new releases as well. So we suggested to keep an eye on the updates of the content script volume that will come with new releases, because, as I mentioned, we are going probably to accelerate in terms of the new widgets that will be delivered. This is another interesting example. So this is a widget for selecting and creating classifications. So instead of need to browse the classification to select one by one, we offer you the possibility now to select multiple classification with a very convenient dialog that also allows you to create new classification on the fly if needed. Again, this is an example of this widget utilized in the context of our contract lifecycle management. Other widgets are, again, from the document editor. So the document editor is a widget that is quite flexible. We have designed it in order to be able to implement the concept of a placeholder as well. So you will be able to create a Word document in which you can also put some placeholders, and you will have API to substitute this placeholder with dynamic data. So you can basically utilize this widget in the context of your application for creating dynamic documents containing placeholders that can be replaced on the fly utilizing content script APIs. And again, defining the placeholders is part of the widget itself, and allows you basically to implement your own strategy for implementing the placeholders and persist them and create new ones. So for example, in the contract lifecycle management, placeholders are stored in the database, but as you will see, you have the freedom to store them basically wherever you want. The default implementation stores them in cache for the duration of the editing session, for example. Other widgets that will be incorporated are complex data grids that allows for displaying huge amount of data, allows for filtering, allows for performing complex computation over the data displayed, and will offer a greater freedom in terms of how the data will be displayed. So data grids have always been a solution that have been heavily utilized in all the applications created with Model Suite. So having these new widgets will definitely help in creating very robust and very good looking solutions. Other widgets, so there's a whole library, as I mentioned. So we have the scheduler widget that allows us to create and maintain this kind of functionality for scheduling and working on agendas. And we have pivot tables, which is a sort of a variation of a data grid, which allows for not just displaying the data, but also aggregate the information displayed accordingly to different measures. So as I mentioned, the library of widgets that will be part of the solution, it's huge. And we are going very soon to discontinue the hands-on table widgets in favor of this more complex and complete spreadsheet widget, which offers better performances and better flexibility and greater flexibility and also additional functionality. So this will probably be very soon the successor of the hands-on table And we will try our best to keep the APIs compatible. Keep in mind, all these widgets, they will be basically be configurable through the editor, so beautiful web form builder as well as Smart Pages, Composer, but the data source will always be content scripts. And as you know, so what we designed the widget for is you have the data sources created and configured automatically, starting from the configuration of the widget in the editors. So they are very easy to use. And later on, I will show you an example on how you can work, for example, with a document editor and configuring it very, very quickly. Triggerid is another example, again, for displaying the information, etc. And this brings us to the next new feature and functionality. So application builder. Application builder will is basically the new functionality that is taking the place of what used to be the beautiful Webflow Studio. So over time, we realized that we have the possibility to create automation around creating application on top of the XNDCM platform. And we started it with beautiful Webflow Studio. We worked on that concept, and we are going to work on that concept as well. And so we have discontinued, starting from Module Suite 3.3, the beautiful Webflow Studio, but we are introducing the application builder. The application builder has greater flexibility, as from day zero, we'll have more application templates, but most importantly, the definition and the creation of new application templates have been dramatically simplified. So we have now the capability of creating new templates for your application and to enable partners and system integrators to create new applications template for new possible applications to be created through this application builder. And that will be a very nice solution, because you can basically bootstrap a process, an application very quickly, literally in a matter of minutes, and combined with the other functionalities that I've mentioned and I will mention, you will see that is a very nice addition to the application. From a developer perspective, what we are going to introduce with the next release will be a new, basically, super editor that will allow you to define all the objects that are part of an application, and will allow you to define sort of a manifest for this application, and will enable you to directly open the proper editor for editing and modifying each one of these objects. So if your application is made, for example, by several beautiful web forms and content scripts, you will be able to navigate all the objects that are part of the application and open each editor individually for each object, but you will always have an overview of all the objects that made your application. So this is the first step, application builder. The next step will be, as I mentioned, this application editor interface. There are other new feature and functionality. So we are introducing a new extension package. This new extension package will allow you to expose REST APIs made with content script that are compliant with the Open Data Protocol, which is a very nice new functionality, because as you might know, creating a new sort of REST APIs with content script is super fast. So you not just need to create a content script in a proper position in your content script volume. But the problem is that these APIs, you need to describe it, you need to document it, etc. Open Data API is, on the other hand, a protocol that is widely adopted. And so being able to expose an API that is compatible and compliant with that will allow you to simplify integration with other systems, because you will have on other systems libraries that are natively able to consume this kind of APIs. The other, as part of the aspects of working with OData, we have also implemented as part of this new extension package, APIs that allows it to consume these APIs. Going back to the widgets that we briefly discussed before. So this new library of widgets, many of these new widgets, they utilize as a data source and not data REST API. So being able to create this OData REST APIs will also simplify the integration of the new set of widgets. Another important new update is the upgrade of the document builder library. So document builder extension package has been around for some time now, and we have done quite a significant amount of work on it for this new release, and in improving and enhancing what the builder is capable of. And so to the builder, you can now create very complex Word documents with a lot of features and functionalities in it. You will be able to create Word documents defining comments, defining footnotes, defining track changes, complex tables. So the possibilities are endless. And the nice thing is that this doc builder will also come, this new version of the doc builder will also come with a parser that is compatible with the input produced by the doc editor widget that I've shown you before. So this will enable you to, again, as I mentioned, create Word documents directly from the user interface. So the widget will produce a document in its own format, and through the document builder, this document can be processed on server side for producing a Word document on the fly. Word document absolutely compatible with the one that you have created utilizing the widget interface. In the next release, 3.4, we are going to implement the exact opposite process. So we are going to implement the word parsers that will enable you to load a Word document inside of the widget. Okay, so this is a functionality we are already working on and will be probably delivered. So it's scheduled to be delivered for the next release. So for the time being, you can utilize the widget for creating a Word document. For the next release, you will be able to ingest the Word document and modify it directly from the widget. Other minor enhancements are associated with the, more generally speaking, model suite administration pages. So we have improved the way the configuration of model suite is exported. As you might know, starting from model suite 3.2 and 3.2.1, we have the possibility of exporting the base configuration of model suites as a standard configuration object from extended ECM. So you can go in the standard XML export configuration from extended ECM and export the configuration of model suite as well. We have improved it because we also now offer you the possibility to export within the configuration additional set of parameters. And this configuration can also be utilized now to feed the script console. So in order to set up script console, you no longer need to connect the script console with your environment. What you will need to do is just to export a configuration from one of your servers and then take the file and bring it to script console. Script console will be able to ingest it and utilize an input for defining its own configuration. Other enhancements are related to the activation key, which is now something that you can import. And we have significantly reduced the number of situations in which a restart is actually required. So we have now just a couple of situations in which the restart of the system is actually required in order to update one of the properties. Other announcements are related to extended ECM business workspaces callbacks. So we have introduced a set of callbacks that are specific to business workspace creation and modification. So anytime a new business workspace is created or modified, these callbacks are called, and so you will be able to react to them as usually, synchronously or asynchronously, utilizing content script. Another quite huge improvement is related to all the APIs that are related to the users and the querying the user model. So being able, for example, to get all the groups the user belong to and all the users are part of a specific group, either directly or indirectly. And this is becoming more and more relevant with the adoption of extended ECM, because as you may know, so extended ECM roles are actually a group of users. And so there's in recent instances and recent times, the number of users and groups, particularly the number of groups created on an extended ECM instance are growing very, very fast. So these APIs, the review of these APIs now allows for better performances when there is the need to get, as I mentioned, all the users or all the groups a user belongs to. Other functionalities and improvements that are worth mentioning, the full support for transports for workflows that are leveraging content script. So this is something that many of you will appreciate. So you can now export with transport warehouse a workflow created or in which you have utilized content scripts as event scripts or with the content script steps. And the transport warehouse will take charge of setting everything back in the right place when you will be importing this package on a different environment. So now moving a workflow created with Model Suite is very simple, requires a couple of clicks, and it works just fine. So it's definitely a major improvement in terms of portability of the solution from one environment to another one. Other aspect that is relevant, obviously, this solution is certified for working with 22.3. So at every deployment scenarios that you might want to utilize. So is either a standard on-prem development, on-prem deployment on VMs, or a cloud deployment on VMs, or on-prem deployment on containers, or cloud deployment on containers. So all these scenarios are certified and very well supported. And obviously there are we did a lot of work in terms of bug fixing, and we also simplified the tracking of overrides applied by Model Suite. So in order to enhance aspects of the platform, Model Suite performs some overrides, as you might know. There was not really an easy way to tell which override was actually applied or not, because we have quite a complex way for determining if an override needs to be applied or not. Now, as part of the Model Suite report that you can generate directly from the system, there is a section that tells you what has actually been applied as an override and what hasn't been applied as an override. So this will be helpful for talking with your support, and will help us in providing a better support to you. As I don't need to remember you, but as you might know, all these overrides are obviously non-permanent. So they are there only if you have a fully configured and licensed model suite instance in place. And to wrap up this session, before to give you space for some questions, I'd like to briefly tell you what is coming in 3.4. I mentioned, so we will have more and more widgets introduced in version 4 and 5. We will have new application templates in the application builders, but the next major thing will be a script console will be rewritten, and we are moving away from our own runtime engine, so our own web say web server, or the current way script console is deployed, and will be basically turn script console in a Grace plugin. So that will be through this in this way we'll be able to leverage all the new Gradle releases and take advantage of this very nice environment in order to be able to do more, and to also leverage the work done by the Grace community. So this is for the 3.4, as I mentioned, so is now scheduled for the end of the year. So end of January, end of December, or beginning of January next year. And with that, I think we can now open the floor to some questions. I see that we already have a couple.
Yeah, so there's one question. I'll just read them out. Can you please clarify if the improvements to the user/groups performance issue will be in 3.3 or 3.4?
Will be in 3.3. So they are part of the release, the version that we just released.
Okay. And then there is another question. Will the Sync Fusion library need a separate license?
No, will be part of Model Suite. As you know, so the tagline for the product is a value that grows over time. We want to keep faith through that tagline.
Okay. So at the moment, there's no other questions in the chat. Another question is, when will 3.3 be released?
So 3.3 will be released today, and will be available for download, I think, beginning of next week.
All right. So exciting stuff, as always. Questions keep coming in. Is 3. Compatible only with XNDCM 22.3? No,
we tried our best to keep the widest compatibility possible. So 3.3 will be actually compatible with all the version. 3.2.1 was compatible with plus 22.3.
And another one, was the connected workspace updater that handles categories released?
So this is not part of the suite, and is a separate solution. I don't actually have information about it. I can. We have to figure out with the product manager where the release is scheduled, when the release is scheduled.
Okay. And also, can you share us the Academy link? Absolutely, yes. So we'll be, when we send out the link to the recording, we'll also add the link to the Academy, but it's straightforward. academy.answermodules.com. If I may add a note on Academy, the more feedback we have on the type of content that's in there, or also what content you'd like to see, obviously the better. So take a tour. At the moment, like I mentioned, it is growing, it is expanding. So any feedback, I know that our colleague that is managing this product, this section, will be very, very interested and very appreciative of any input that you may provide. All right. I don't see any other questions coming through. So I think, Patrick, we can wrap it up here. And
Sure.
thanks everyone again for your time. Always good to see such a great turnout. Like I mentioned, we will be sending out the link to the recording, to Academy, and also if you haven't seen it yet, hope you have a showcase. And let's keep in touch, and we'll send out updates and invitations to the next 3.4 webinar.
Thank you so very much, everybody.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye. Enjoy the
Bye.
weekend.